Did you know that you're probably lied to anywhere from 10 to 200 times a day? Crazy, right? Well, welcome to this explainer where we're going to absolutely demystify one of the most complex, fascinating, and honestly, universally experienced human behaviors out there, lying. We aren't just talking about tall tales today, we are unmasking the mind to understand the structural psychology behind deception. Think about it for a second. Have you ever been in a conversation where someone's words sounded, absolutely perfect, but something deep down in your gut just told you they weren't being totally honest? Maybe their story was just a little too simple, or perhaps their reaction felt slightly delayed, almost like it was rehearsed. Most people assume that spotting a liar requires some kind of special, innate talent. But as you'll see, psychology suggests that deception leaves behind incredibly specific, unseen patterns. Your intuition is actually picking up on the fact that the human brain deeply struggles to hide these patterns.
Section 1, the hidden cost of lying. Now, what's really interesting about this is the stark contrast in how our brains operate. You see, the human brain naturally prefers authenticity. Authenticity is our baseline, it's super easy and requires almost no energy. But lying forces the brain way out of its natural state, pushing the mind into an exhausting zone of performance and internal conflict just to avoid emotional risks. And it's exactly this massive mental exhaustion that sets behavioral traps for the deceiver. Here's the roadmap for our investigative journey today. 1. The hidden cost of lying. 2. Shifting blame and avoiding responsibility. 3. Defensive reactions to neutral questions. 4. Hiding behind surface-level vagueness. 5. Cognitive overload in mechanical behavior. And 6. Spotting inconsistent nonverbal signals.
Section 2. Shifting blame and avoiding responsibility. Okay, let's dive into this. The very first major tell we're unmasking today is avoiding responsibility. This is a crystal clear sign of deception and, frankly, of emotional immaturity. When someone is hiding the truth, taking ownership is literally the absolute last thing they want to do. When someone's deceiving you, they essentially raise a massive shield against accountability. When confronted, they almost never take ownership. Instead, they use very specific tactics to protect their ego, pushing the blame onto their boss, their partner, or my personal favorite, just chalking it up to bad luck. By pointing the finger outward, they're desperately trying to keep the focus off their own internal truth. And this idea hits the nail on the head. Psychologically speaking, this blame shifting allows a liar to simplify details and completely avoid uncomfortable truths. Full honesty requires a level of accountability that is simply way too harsh for someone caught in a lie. So they rewrite the whole narrative to make themselves the victim of circumstance. Section 3. Defensive reactions to neutral questions. For our second pillar, we need to talk about the social mask. When someone is deceiving you, they're wearing one. And let me tell you, that mask is incredibly vulnerable. It's super fragile. If we break down the comparison here, it's actually quite revealing. An honest person, they can usually separate feedback from their core identity. If you ask them a neutral question about where they were, they just answer it. No big deal. But look at the deceptive reaction. Because that social mask is so incredibly vulnerable, a completely neutral question triggers immediate defensive hostility. You'll see sudden anger, intense sulking, or even complete withdrawal. So why exactly does this happen? Well, psychology shows us that folks who are hiding the truth actually hold themselves to impossible standards of appearing absolute perfection, just to keep the lie intact. Because of this, any tiny challenge to their story doesn't just feel like a simple question, it feels like a mortal threat to their entire identity. Section 4. Hiding behind surface-level vagueness. Moving on to our third behavioral tell, we're looking at what happens when a person starts feeling emotionally exposed. And spoiler alert, that feeling of exposure triggers a powerful instinct for defensive evasion. When they feel exposed, they immediately deploy these quick escape tactics. We've all seen this, right? They might laugh off a serious question, abruptly change the subject, or give you a completely surface-level response just to survive the moment. It makes sense because revealing real motives or deep fears makes the deceiver feel deeply unsafe. Direct details are the ultimate enemy of a lie. So, the crucial point here is this. Keeping the conversation empty is absolutely not an accident. It is a highly effective mechanism for control. By giving you absolutely nothing of substance, they maintain total control over what you actually know about them, essentially starving you of the information you need to uncover the truth. Section 5. Cognitive overload and mechanical behavior. Bringing up pillar number 4, we really need to understand cognitive overload. You see, lying isn't just telling a little fib. It's actually an incredibly complex, real-time computational task for your brain. And this brilliantly illustrates how that massive cognitive drain happens over time. First, in just mere seconds, the liar's brain has to model the entire environment, like who knows what are the established facts. Then, over the next few minutes, they have to predict all the possible outcomes of their fabricated story. Finally, over the next few hours, this high-stakes management completely drains the brain, pushing it into total mental depletion and survival mode. When the brain enters this exhaustive survival mode, you literally start to see physical symptoms. Because the mind is just so overwhelmingly busy juggling the lie, they actually stop moving naturally, kind of like a robot running on 1% battery. Their speech might noticeably slow down as they frantically calculate every single word, and they'll completely miss subtle emotional details in the room that they would normally catch. This mental depletion strips away the natural flexibility and easy problem-solving nature of a truthful person. Section 6. Spotting inconsistent nonverbal signals. Introducing our fifth and final pillar, psychology suggests that people known as deep feelers, or really just highly observant individuals, spot lies incredibly well. And it's because they don't just listen to the raw data, they evaluate the whole context. What they're doing is looking for unprocessed emotions. These are hidden internal mechanisms that the brain simply cannot fully suppress, no matter how hard it tries. A liar might look you dead in the eye and say they are completely happy, but a slight shift in their attitude, a micro-expression, or an awkward pause in the conversation totally reveals their true state. These involuntary leaks are constantly contradicting their words. Ultimately, spotting a liar isn't about becoming a cynic. It's about becoming much more aware of human nature. The next time someone tells you a story that feels just a little too perfect, ask yourself, what is their body really trying to say? Reflect on those everyday human patterns you might be completely overlooking. If you want to continue mastering the hidden psychology that shapes our lives, make sure to subscribe. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and I'll catch you next time.